What has been your main focus in Jiu Jitsu? I asked this question to my followers, some of which are professional athletes and others are hobbyists. But there was one common theme, guard passing. So we're going to talk about knee shield, long range butterfly half guard passing, and headquarters passing. We'll start off with the age-old question of half guard passing, specifically beating the knee shield. Often a great way to initiate a knee shield guard pass is to free your trapped leg. And to do this, we can utilize what's called a shin pummel. Now there are many ways to set up this shin pummel. We can pummel in a butterfly hook of our own to pin our opponent's leg to the mat, giving us the opportunity to use that shin pummel to free our trapped leg. But one idea Gordon tends to use a lot is the dilemma between the shin pummel and smashing his opponent's legs together. Josh does a great job of denying the shin pummel to Gordon, but this allows Gordon to sprawl on the knee shield, smashing Josh's legs together, and ultimately allowing Gordon to enter chest-to-chest half guard.
And from here, I feel if she goes to extend that leg through, I switch my hips back in the opposite direction. So as she goes to extend, I just throw my left knee in like so. She goes to extend, and I take my right knee across my partner's forehead.
Here we see Daiki playing this dilemma beautifully as well. He would like to drive his knee towards the camera to facilitate a shin pummel to free his trapped leg, but his opponent's legs are locked, making that difficult. So now his knee position changes to away from the camera with the goal of smashing his opponent's legs together. If he was successful in smashing the legs together, it would result in something like this. Now it doesn't work, but to prevent it from working, his opponent had to uncross their feet. And you can see his knee position goes back and forth multiple times as he plays this dilemma before ultimately freeing his trapped foot with a shin pummel. Now when utilizing this leg work, it's important that Daiki keeps himself safe with good upper body positioning. So you can see he first makes sure he wins the battle of head position and puts himself in this tripod posture before he starts to utilize this beautiful footwork to free his trapped leg. Now once he frees his trapped leg, this is where things start to get very interesting. A good concept to keep in mind when passing a knee shield is the flatter we can get our opponent's hips, the better. And PJ Barch does this exceptionally well. Here we can see Daiki using a weave as he enters into the knee shield position, making it difficult for his opponent to lock their feet, which means the shin pummel is going to be relatively easy for Daiki to free his trapped foot. Now the goal is to flatten the hips. Daiki leaves his weave in place as he runs away from the head to flatten the hips. Once his opponent's hips are flat, he takes out his weave and uses a leg drag to create a strong angle. Here again, we see the use of the weave to facilitate the shin pummel. He leaves in the weave to flatten the hips, before transitioning to a hip and knee post where he is now outside camping. So when passing the knee shield, what I've been trying to do lately is number one, make sure I stay safe by having good upper body positioning. From there, ideally we're able to use something like a weave to prevent our opponent from locking their feet, making it easier for us to utilize a shin pummel to free our trapped leg. If they are able to lock their feet, we go back and forth with our knee position, playing the dilemma between a shin pummel and smashing our opponent's legs together. If we're able to successfully shin pummel, our goal is now to flatten their hips, which now gives us the ability to create some serious guard passing pressure. Now I've been using the term weave, but you can see it's almost like Daiki is using his opponent's lasso against them. If our opponent has a lasso and we chase the head, it can put us in a bit of trouble. So instead, Daiki moves towards the feet using the lasso to flatten his opponent's hips. So this can be a great principle to keep in mind if you're working on dealing with your opponent's lasso. Now I made it a while ago, so it might be a little outdated at this point, but if you're interested in more half guard passing, I have a full instructional on it, which is a $97 value that is now included with your membership to the Outlier database. Sticking with the theme of passing guard, a lot of people are interested in Jason Rao and Joseph Chen style passing. So let's hop on the Outlier database and check out some examples of high tripod passing. And it doesn't take very many examples to notice it's a very bad idea to play butterfly half guard against someone like Joseph Chen. He seems to just float past the guard, and a lot of people are trying to reverse engineer how he's doing it. In his instructional, Joseph emphasizes that there's a short range version of this guard pass that's become known as tripod passing, where Joseph is chest to chest as he works to complete the guard pass. But there's also a long range version of this pass that's becoming more and more popular. And again, the most important thing when attempting it is to make sure that we stay safe. And we do that by controlling our opponent's arm.
Now I'm doing this safely because I'm controlling this onside hand. If I were to do this and not control this hand, he can immediately look to begin attacking our legs.
So if we can pin their wrist to the mat from butterfly half guard, we can win the upper body battle to keep ourselves safe as we work to pass the guard with our legs. It's the same thing we talked about with Daiki. Great head position allows him to play these beautiful dilemmas at the lower body. And it's the same thing here from butterfly half guard. Here we see J-Rod pinning the wrist before stepping over the guard to mount. And one of the best ways I've found to initiate this is from headquarters. With our legs still on the inside, it keeps us relatively safe from leg attacks, as we look to control our opponent's arm. And once we control their arm, now we can safely release our butterfly hook to force butterfly half guard. Now, one major problem we might have when implementing this strategy is from headquarters, the defender may look to first extend their body to get a little momentum to curl in, elevating us with their butterfly hook as they high leg over with their outside leg to retain their guard. So when we feel like this is happening, it may be a good idea to switch direction and utilize a hip switch to pass the guard. This hip switch from HQ became very popular after Marigali did it against Wagner. Now, in true Jiu Jitsu instructor fashion, I've rambled on long enough to go from talking about Joseph's butterfly half guard passing to now talking about headquarters passing.
Os Sensei.
But since we're here, we might as well go all the way. So far, we've talked about controlling the bottom arm of our opponent, but sometimes this can prove to be difficult. And when this is the case, we can switch our attention to the top arm. And Cole uses this row drag type movement on the top arm to give himself a deep underhook and control over his opponent's head and shoulders. So the basic idea is we're looking for some sort of advantage at the upper body to free our lower body up to pass. And when doing so, we can look to control the bottom arm, we can control the top arm, we can look for an underhook with a head block that PJ's using nowadays. And we haven't even talked about Kainen's headquarters passing, but we're not going to do that here because we're already way off topic. But if that's something you are interested in, I recommend checking out Josh Saunders' video. I think he talks about it quite well. And I think this could be a fun video series to continue, so let me know what your main focus has been in Jiu Jitsu down in the comments.